We are 2 days away. 2 days away for Case Keenum to face the deepest penetration of his life. And if the penetration is deep, the Eagles are going to Super Bowl 52. Case closed. James Worthington is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. It is time to know the skull. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I am so amped. I can't wait for Sunday. I'm going to be there again. The stadium last week was the craziest environment I've ever been a part of. It really was an emotional victory. It felt like it was a big effort by the entire city, and we need an even stronger one Sunday, man. I'm so amped. I'm so ready.
Oh, my God. I love it right now because the Vikings fans, they think they're going to the Super Bowl. They think it's destiny. You know what? Stop it. Just stop it. They're completely underestimating the Eagles. And you know what I hate about the Vikings? They got that stupid horn. I've got something for you to blow on, and then I'm going to skull fuck you. How about that?
You're pulling out all the puns early, man. I love it. I love it. Yes, yes. Hell yeah, man. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a nuts game. It's going to be a dogfight. It's really going to come down, pun intended there. It's really going to just come down to whatever defense makes a play. It might come down to the end, man. But really, these teams are so evenly matched. It's just having this game at home is so big for Philly.
Yeah, it's a shame I couldn't get my mask in time because I was going to do the whole show in it. Like, no lie. But, yeah, let's get into this game right now. And we'll start on defense because this is how the Eagles are going to have to win the game. And, I made a video yesterday, actually 2 days ago. I called the Eagles defense the clutchest in the NFL. And what I mean by that is every time they've had to rise to the occasion, they have. Whether it's late in games, whether it's Carson Wentz going down, the defense knowing they need to make some stops in the Rams game. The same thing happens this week. They know that the offense is going to struggle against that vaunted Vikings defense. So this defense knows it has to ball out, and whenever they've known what they have to do, they've done it.
I mean, yeah, man, I really think that, going into the season, I think they really expected to have to carry this team, especially up front, and then nobody expected Carson to take the leap that he did. So as the season went on, I think they, kind of let off the gas a little, just naturally, not intentionally, obviously, because Carson's just so good. The team was rolling, but then he goes down in that Rams game, and they go, all right, we got to step up and make a play. They didn't play that good all game, but they stepped up and they made the plays. And then they gave up, I think we were down 20-7 at some point to the Giants. They stepped up. The offense started clicking, and we won that. And you see what they did against Oakland, and obviously last week I think was one of the most dominating performances I've seen out of this group. I mean, if you don't give up those 2 turnovers, the one fluke punt and the Ajayi fumble, they shut them out. So shutting out Atlanta's offense, and even with Sarkisian calling plays, I would probably take Atlanta's offense over Minnesota. I mean, it's Matty Ice and Julio and then both those backs. So, I mean, they straight up dominated the football game last week, and they just – the second half, they just basically out-physicaled, for lack of a better phrase, the Atlanta Falcons, man. It was beautiful to see. It was Philadelphia football 2-2, and it was just great.
Yep. The thing that the Eagles need to capitalize on in this game, Vikings right tackle is a guy by the name of Rashad Hill. So last week, Cam Jordan just completely demoralized this guy, like made mincemeat of him for 60 minutes. And Case Keenum struggled with the Saints' pressure last week. I thought he did. They forced him into a lot of situations where they collapsed the pocket, and Case would do this whole backpedal thing. We know about the backpedals and Nick Foles. Well, that's what Case was doing, and he was throwing up these lollipops. You can get away with some lollipops in a dome, but if it's windy in Philadelphia and you want to toss them up there, that's fine. We're going to pick it off.
Yeah, and I mean, even to put a number on what you just said, I know for a fact his quarterback rating when under pressure was 5.1 last week. And to be compared with, I think it was like 113, 114 when he had a clean pocket. And the Eagles, I'm pretty sure I read this right, are the number 1 team in quarterback pressures in the league.
And
so,
Case Keenum is pressured more than any quarterback in the league.
Yeah, so you put all that, I mean, I love the way that sounds, man, because like we just said, the D-line, they're going to be the ones to take us there because they got to dominate the defensive line, the offensive line. So it's a huge matchup. I think I really like Brandon Graham's matchup, like you just said. I think he's going to just absolutely tear that guy up. I mean, look at him last week. All season, Brandon Graham's just been blowing plays up. He's in the backfield almost every play. How he wasn't a Pro Bowl starter is still beyond me, but that's another discussion. I really agree. I mean, if you remember last year, we dominated him up front too. It's pretty much the same personnel. I mean, there's a couple changes, but I don't see why we can't do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I do think their line got better, but
they definitely got their line coach is pretty decent, isn't he? Like,
they signed Riley Reef during the offseason. Yeah. He's been a good pickup for them, and they drafted Pat Elflein, the center, and he's so Brandon Graham, Chris Long. Look for those two guys, and then also I think they're going to run some TE stunts because Fletcher Cox is that athletic that he can loop around the tackle. I think we'll see some of that too.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, honestly, whatever Jim Schwartz thinks he can do, just do it. Because I heard I don't have anything to back this up, but I heard on the radio this week that pretty much like Jim Schwartz has dominated Pat Shurmur whenever they face each other. So, I mean, just honestly, I trust the coaching. I really do. Like, if they want to do a tackle stunt, they want to throw something out there we haven't done all year, these guys are good enough. They're smart enough to do it. And I mean, honestly, just like this, both the defensive and offensive game plan last week, I thought was great, man. Obviously defense too. And I know we'll get into the offense later, but I mean, it's just, this coaching staff's done a great job. The players are just playing out of their minds right now, man. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this team is playing just incredible football.
Yeah, no, they really are. And so we talked about pressure and Keenum. The other important part of this game is going to be on third down. Because the Vikings, they lead the NFL in third down conversion rate. That might actually surprise some people. The reason why they're so successful on third down is they like to put Case Keenum in manageable third down situations. They run the ball more than any team in the NFL, 501 rushing attempts. But obviously, we know that the Eagles are number one in rush defense. So they average 3.9 yards per carry. It's not that high. McKinnon, Latavius Murray. So if on first and second down, they struggle to run the ball, that's going to put Case Keenum in a lot of 3rd and 8s pluses. And that's not a down and distance that Minnesota wants to be in because they like to run a lot of short stuff on third down, a lot of those little crossing routes. And if you run a crossing route on a 3rd and 8, that's going to get stopped short of the sticks.
Oh, for sure, especially with the way our DBs tackle and the way they cover, man. I mean, I think in the beginning of the game, we'll see a decent dose of Latavius Murray in the first couple of drives. And if we stuff him, which I think we will, I think as the game goes, you're going to see more and more Jerick McKinnon. I think that just if you try and run power football up the middle of our defense, it's not going to work. I really think it's going to end up being a Jerick McKinnon game for them. And I still don't think it's going to work. I think we're going to shut their running game down. That's kind of the way I see it going. And yeah, man, if we can keep him in 3rd and long, I mean, that's perfect opportunity to just get after the quarterback. I mean, they're not going to be able to just, like you said, just, 3-step drop boom on it, which is what, Eli did to us this year and Aaron Rodgers did to us last year. We're gonna be able to get pressure on them. The thing that I'm a little scared of is if maybe they do come out and just start throwing those quick slants because we've been so vulnerable to it, and that's I would hate to see that for sure. I mean that's tough to that's been tough for us to stop. But I mean they ideally, like you said, they do like to run the football. So I don't really see them getting away from their bread and butter. The only thing that I actually expect them to do is run no huddle when our second string defensive line's in because they're going to want to keep Cox and Graham off the field, and I think that's a smart play.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is. The other thing too is, I don't know if they're going to change their style of play. I think they're going to keep it as it is. I think the key to beating Philly is to throw the ball a lot. I don't know if Minnesota's going to do that though. So
no, and I mean, it's what they'd have to do is those quick slants, which Case Keenum can do, but I mean that's not what got them there. I think that's kind of overcomplicating things in their minds, and I don't know how much Shurmur. I guess he pretty much controls the offense, but I know as Mike Zimmer, a defensive coach and the head coach, he wants to dictate the style of play. He doesn't want to adjust to the opposition. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I tend to agree with you. However, that possibility definitely has floated around in my head.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the other side of the ball then and talk about this Vikings defense and how the hell are the Eagles going to move the ball? So, I it's going to be an awesome matchup between Xavier Rhodes and Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey has, what's the number? He has the most receiving yards against the Vikings of any team that he's faced. I believe he's caught 7 touchdowns against them, but only 1 has come on Xavier Rhodes, who has 2 picks against him. I've watched some tape of their showdowns. I was actually going to do a video on it, but that's going to take too long, so I didn't do it. But I thought it was, kind of fairly even. I feel like Xavier Rhodes, though, has gotten a lot better since they faced off. So, I think Rhodes is going to be a tough matchup because Jeffrey doesn't cause a lot of separation. And if he plays somebody that's like equally as physical as him, he does tend to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I mean, I know I heard it earlier. Alshon's 3 big games against him was 2014, 2015, and 2016. I think 2014 was he still playing with Brandon Marshall? I don't remember if he was or not. But I mean, he's not the same receiver he was. He isn't. I mean, I think it's clear he's been healthy all year. And yes, he started catching the touchdowns, but he really, besides the touchdowns, he kind of was putting up the same stats he was in the beginning of the year with volume and yards. I just don't think he's the same receiver he was. And with Xavier Rhodes becoming an all-pro and Alshon kind of slightly going the other direction, know that well. And Rhodes is like 6'1", like 220, right? Like he's huge for a corner. So I honestly, if Alshon has a good game, it's going to be because he elevates his level of play. Because if just looking at this matchup on paper, I don't like it at all, honestly, for us. I think Xavier Rhodes is going to pretty much get the best of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why maybe you got to move Alshon around, maybe play him in a slot or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, definitely. Or, Trey Waynes is pretty good too. But I could honestly, if you can get Alshon on Trey Waynes, I think is Wayne's a little smaller. Yeah. So maybe, and then Torrey Smith's your burner. Put him on Xavier Rhodes if they're not going to have Rhodes shadow. I don't know if he shadows or not.
I'm going to guess he does, but I don't know off the top of my head.
And I mean, honestly, in this matchup, like with a team with maybe 2 like receivers that are slightly bigger and fast, like we have 2 very different receivers on the outside, and Smith and Jeffrey. In this situation, I think you have to have Rhodes on Alshon and Trey Waynes on Torrey Smith. I just don't. If you switch it around, I think it's a better matchup for us. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he shadows.
Yeah, a big key could be Nelson Aguilar in the slot against Mackenzie Alexander.
Definitely, man. I think so for sure. I know that Alexander was burnt last week against the Saints in the second half. They really started just attacking him there, and that's why they started having the success they did. I don't know what Terrence Newman's status is, but still he's like 38, 39, and Aguilar is,
that's a quickness mismatch for Newman.
Exactly. And so like I think Aguilar, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him have his biggest game of his career on this stage, considering just like the way the season's gone, the way he's bounced back after everybody hates him, everybody loves him. He's got all the confidence in the world. I could see him maybe even making a big play, which would be great, man. If we could get one big play on these guys, honestly, like, and just a couple field goals, it might be enough to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll get to the predictions later.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I think most people know actually what my prediction is by now. But all right. The other thing I think they should do now, the Vikings are like top 3 in terms of yards allowed against tight ends. But Eagles have 3 capable ones. And I'm curious because I wonder if they're going to try some of the same stuff they did against Denver. Now, the difference with Denver is they were a top 5 bottom defense covering tight ends. So there's a difference here. But you got Trey Burton, you got Brent Selleck. Zach Ertz is going to be matched up against Harrison Smith, so he might take him away, but you still got other options that potentially you could go to.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, just thinking about the tight ends, I know Doug doesn't like to help his tackles that much, but honestly, in this game, Big V might need help against Everson Griffin.
He's going to need help.
And honestly, I know Ertz isn't much of a blocker. If you throw Ertz on one side and Burton on that side, just have him chip Griffin a little bit. I honestly think Burton could make some plays this game because he's so underrated. I think in the public eye, I think in the NFL, they realize how good he is because of how good he was when Ertz was out. But if you have both those guys on the field at the same time, that there's going to be a mismatch somewhere, man. So I do kind of think Burton could make a play or two this game. And obviously we just talked about Aguilar. So I definitely would keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, because the other thing you could look at is maybe running backs, but I don't think they're going to really move the ball with the running backs in the flats because you got the great linebackers of the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do much in the flat. I mean, maybe we hit on a screenplay. Maybe we don't really run a lot. I mean, God, I miss Darren Sproles. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah. Speaking of the running backs, though, I mean, I think you're going to get here, but I do think that we'll be able to run the ball a little bit on these guys.
I've got a statistic for you guys. So, you know, they always say, you know, a good defense travels, right? Well, the Vikings defense, at least it's ground defense, not really the case. So the Vikings have yielded 897 rushing yards, 112.1 per game away from the Twin Cities. That's way down from their 83.6 yards per game average. So, Eagles, top 5 in running the football. Unleash.
Exactly, man. And like I said last week against Atlanta, I wanted to see them run the ball early to get that offensive line going because O-line, man, they love run blocking. They love mauling guys, and that's exactly what we do. And honestly, exactly what we did last week. The offensive line, as a former lineman, man, I'm smiling about it now. It was beautiful. Each one of those guys had about 3 or 4 highlight reel blocks, and they got to bring the same amount of intensity and physicality this game. And you just gave the stat. You can run on these guys on the road, and that's what we have to do to win. We need to set Nick Foles up with play action passes with those RPOs, and that all is predicated on running the football. So, I mean, it's playoffs, man. It's playoffs. It's the NFC Championship game. Defense and running the football, man, and that's all just going to come back down to our defensive and offensive lines. And honestly, find me a better team in football with both units as strong as we have. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. It's going to be hard, you know, running on Griffin's side with Big V. I don't know if he's going to do much, but I think off the right side, that's where you can attack. I'm also looking at, you know, the trap plays that they like to run because Danielle Hunter, the left defensive end for the Vikings, very underrated player, gets after the quarterback. But in run defense, you can get after him a little bit. So use his aggressiveness against him. Use some of those trap plays. I think you run the ball well doing that too.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I actually think Everson Griffin scares me a little more in the pass rush against Big V than the run. I think that, honestly, he's good. Like, he's good, and don't get me wrong, but I'm a little more scared of him, like, beating Big V in pass protection. Big V's and he's been pretty good run blocking this year. I think he's a pretty big body. Also, I mean, you could always send more than one guy at him. So I definitely think they're just going to keep it even with both sides. But, I mean, it's all about matchups. It's all about exploiting matchups. And in game, Doug Peterson's definitely going to see something, and he better exploit it. That's what it is. NFL is – it's just, you know, if you find something you can exploit, you attack it. That's exactly what the Saints did against this team last week. So, and just a little bit of a tangent here, but halftime's going to be huge for these teams because I don't think it's going to be a blowout in one way or the other. So you'll see which team has the better coaching staff come first about 5 minutes in the third quarter. I honestly think so. And to be honest, I would give us the edge after what I've seen this season.
Dude, it's amazing. The video is going to come one of these days. I haven't made it yet, but I'm going to make a video how I was dead wrong about Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we all were. I was too. I mean, I remember we both apologized to him in one of these videos this year at one point. Play calling has been –
it was a much better apology than what Michael Lombardi
had. Yeah, I know. Supposedly he's going to apologize to Doug himself, but we'll see. But, I mean, what he's done this season, his play calling has been off the charts good. I think he finally just settled down into being himself, and he's just trusting himself. I mean, these press conferences lately, like he's been a little more like – you know, less people pleaser, more like, you know, don't put words in my mouth like this, and, you know, we do it this way. And I like that because he's the coach of our football team. You don't want him just, you know, being a yes man. And honestly, last week after Nick Foles started off a little sketchy, like Doug Peterson coached him into like getting into his getting into like a rhythm. He started running the RPOs more. Nick Foles got more comfortable. And dude, the second half, I was sitting in the stands going, yo, Nicky Six is hot right now, man. And you know what that means. He had like 3 incompletions in the second half. I watched a replay of the game when I got home because I was up late. And I rewatched it again, honestly, like the next day. And it's just unbelievable, like the difference between him in the first quarter and in the third quarter, man. He really turned it on. And he's capable of going on a streak like that. So maybe let's just pray it keeps going, man. They say in practice he looks really good.
The last half of the season I was really impressive with Doug for me because there were things that he was very predictable with the screens on the third and long, like a lot of things that he would do. You know, you would know what's coming before it comes, and he was ultra conservative. But that has gone by the wayside now. You can't predict what's coming anymore, and he has really grown as a play caller. I can't believe it.
I mean, I think what he's done a really good job of is listening to the people around him and identifying areas of weakness and taking suggestions and turning them into strengths. I'd be very curious to see and know how much involved Carson is in the week-to-week game plan and making suggestions and how much Doug listens to him. Because honestly, like, and I'm not like I have no grounds to say this, but like, Doug doesn't strike me as like a genius, even though his play calling, he is a genius. He doesn't strike me as a genius, whereas Carson kind of does. Yeah, and Big DiFilippo, like from what I've heard, yeah, like he's got a good head on his shoulders offensively. Frank Reich, I mean, he's got experience. I think Doug's just done a really good job of just listening to the people around him and taking in all the information, putting it together with a game plan. And honestly, that takes a special skill set as an NFL coach because most of these guys have these big ass egos that they just don't want to listen to anybody. And Doug, man, he really doesn't. And the team, I think there's one game in the 2 years that they didn't come out to play, and that was Cincinnati. Other than that, they've played their asses off.
No, that's his best quality. Is he's not stubborn. I mean, Chip Kelly was the most stubborn coach of like all time. That's why he doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because we heard it earlier this season. Everybody was complaining that the Eagles weren't running the ball. After the Chiefs game, you had some players complaining about it. Zach Ertz complained. Lane Johnson complained. But instead of being stubborn, instead of keeping things the way that he usually keeps it, he started running the ball more. And it worked.
Yeah, I mean, and he has that leadership council that he meets with weekly, and I think that's huge, man. I love that as just playing in high school. I wish we had something like that because there is a disconnect with the coaches and the players, and like the players, it's just like in an everyday job. Like you do your job and your supervisor manage, like they're not doing what you do, and if you have like suggestions for it needs to, they're not going to know. So like if they want to run the ball as a football team because they know that they can run it down teams' throats and this offensive line can just maul people, his tendency is pass first. He's a quarterback. You just got to tell him, man. And they did, and he listened, and it's beautiful, man, because we've seen the success. It's awesome. I couldn't be happier with the job he's done this season.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do with Nick Foles? How
oh man,
attack that defense? Because I'm just sitting here like, man, just like don't turn the ball over.
That's what he can't turn the ball over, man. And if he does early on, I think you're going to see Doug kind of coach a little more conservative, trying to get some completions to get his confidence back. Because, I mean, obviously we don't know the guy, but just everything we've seen points to his confidence is shaky, and he's kind of like when he's going good, it's good, and when it's going bad, he can't really pull himself out of it. Whereas Carson, it's like, you know, he throws a pick, the next play he's out there like it never happened. So it's like night and day there. But I also think, you know, I think Carson just being on the sidelines, being involved in the game plan, everything, talking to Nick, like I think that's really good for him. And the city's behind him. So I don't know. I expect us to come out running the football. I think Nick Foles is going to pick up where he left off, and you're just going to see more of the same stuff. Nothing crazy. Might take a shot or two downfield, but I mean, it's going to be a defensive battle, man. And I think that to be too aggressive on offense and have a turnover could be very, very costly.
Yeah, there's such a fine line here because last week, I believe Foles' average per completion was like 4.9 yards, which is low, very, very low. So that to me is like too conservative for the Vikings. But then again, it's like if you ramp up the aggressiveness, then you're going to get some turnovers. So it really is a fine line.
I mean, it's that I could see it maybe going to like, you know, 6-ish maybe. I think it's really going to come to like the yards after the catch are going to be big in this game.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Nelson Aguilar comes in, man, because when you get the ball in his hands, he can do some really nice things.
He's going to be a key to this win.
Dude, if he has a big game and we win, man, this city he could do no wrong, man. Like
Ever again.
I have a weird feeling he's gonna make like a big play. Like I don't you know how the NFL works, man. If you hit a freaking slant at the right time, you could go for 90 yards. Like, and he has the speed to do that. And this city or the stadium, man, as soon as they hear that hey, those jets will be on and he'll be off going, man. So we'll see. I mean, I do think it's gonna be low scoring. But man, I have a weird feeling like there's something that's gonna like a big play offensively involving Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. All right. What else we got? What else is going on this game?
I have a little interesting tidbit. I don't know if you've heard this yet. So I saw that, and obviously these are all overtime because the first walk-off in regulation was last week. But teams with walk-off wins in the playoffs are 0-6 in the next week.
Yeah. I saw that. So the last like 6 of them, they lost.
Yeah, so like, obviously that's the big, emotional letdown too. But on the other side, you can say, well, the game went into overtime; they had to play more. So, but I think it's interesting because it really speaks like this team, like Wednesday, was probably they're still thinking like, how the hell did we win that football game? Like, obviously they're going to say they're focused, they're going to go into practice, they're going to do what they're going to do, but like to think at the end of the game, like you're done, you're out, the playoffs are over. And for that to happen, I don't care what anybody says, man, that hangs with you. It's emotionally exhausting. And I think that's going to play in our favor. I really do.
Well, there was something that happened in 2003. You remember his name was Freddie Mitchell, 4th and 26.
We had 3 points after that. Yeah.
3 points the next week. Now
you're right.
There are examples though of the other side of the ledger where, it actually has helped propel the Super Bowl. You had like the Music City Miracle for the Titans. So it can work either way. But it seems like it helps out the Eagles more so than the Vikings here.
Well, and we're at home too. If the Vikings were at home in front of that crowd after what happened last week, I would definitely say like that momentum's going to continue.
Oh yeah,
they're going to come here. They're going to get smacked in the face. They're going to play outside. God freaking hope the temperature drops more and more. I don't want to see it in the 50s I want to see it like 30s and windy, man. Like I don't care. Nick Foles played good enough last week that the cold weather thing might not be accurate. Who knows? But I just, dude, they're a dome team. I want them they're coming out here. It's going to be loud. It's going to be cold. It's just, I love it. The table's set, man. The table's set.
Yeah. No.
Crazy. I'm like, I can't believe it, man. I can, but I can't.
Hey, I said going into the postseason that there were 2 teams that I thought we could beat. It was Atlanta and Minnesota. And it's funny because Minnesota was my Super Bowl pick. But I think – but the reason why I picked Minnesota is because we match up well with what the Vikings like to do. They like to run the ball a lot. They ran it more than any team in the NFL. So if you stop that run, again, you put Case Keenum in those long third down situations where you can unleash the pressure, where he's been pressured more than any quarterback in the league. So it helps. We got a good matchup here.
Yeah, and he is a playmaker. Like I'm not saying Case Keenum's not a good. I think he's had a great year for him, and he's a solid quarterback. Like I'm not sleeping on him. But I completely agree with you, man. The way to beat this team is to make Case Keenum beat you in 3rd and long. And it's why I wanted the Vikings over the Saints. Except, not going to lie, after I saw the Vikings go up 17-0, I was sitting there going, well, maybe I was wrong about these guys. But obviously, Drew Brees reminded me in the second half why I didn't want the Saints. Because if we had the Saints this week, man, like, I trust our defense more than our offense to win us games. And if our defense is going to do that, I'd rather them be matched up against a very good defense. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I watched that Vikings game back, and they got up 17-0, but they were aided by a lot of penalty yards. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't. I don't remember it, but I did watch that entire game. So, I mean, it didn't seem like they dominated them. Besides on the scoreboard, it didn't have the feel of it. And the whole time, I thought the Saints were going to come back into it. And my buddies I was watching it with didn't. But I was like, dude, it's Drew Brees. It's going into the half. They're only down 17-0, and then 17-7. It goes to that turnover happens. 17-14. They're right back in it. So that's just crazy in general, man. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen. If we happen to get up on a 2-score lead on the Vikings, no matter how good our defense is playing, I'm not sleeping on them, man. I've seen crazier things happen. I mean, who knows? This game could end up – I would be very surprised, but watch it up like 33-30, man. Like, who knows? We never know, man. Football is such a crazy game.
That's what my man Tony predicted on our Philly Influencer podcast. Because I said 10-6 initially, but I've changed that prediction. I said 10-6, and he's like, nah, it's going to be like 38-34. Whoa.
Dude, if we put up 38 points on the Vikings defense, I think I might be very, very confident if going to the Super Bowl if we win.
If we put up 38 points against the Vikings, I think we'll win the Super Bowl.
But then I had, 35, 34 allowed, I'd be like, scratch.
Yeah, that's not something you want to see. Yeah.
Which there's no way in hell that this defense is not come out and play. I mean, if we lose a close game like 16-13 or 13, like I'm not going to hang my hat and say, they just beat us on that night. They were better. These teams are so evenly matched. I mean, I heard someone, I don't remember what the hell the website is, but this guy called into one of the shows. And it's a pretty big website, and they run 50,000 simulations for the game. The average score for both the Vikings and the Eagles was 17.8 each. They each averaged 32 rush attempts, 29 pass attempts. They each had the same amount of turnovers. They had the same amount of it was unreal. The guy said the Vikings won 50.4% of the time. So that put us at, I guess, 49.6. Yeah. And he said that the main factor was the team that won the most. The common thing is they usually had over a yard per carry more on average than the other team. So that really tells you this game's going to come down to the lines and who can run the football better, which is what we've been saying. But I just thought, to quantify how evenly matched these teams are, that shocked me. Dead even tie. He said it's never happened in pro football before.
Now, I do think these teams are pretty much the same when you look at it. Both got a backup quarterback in. We have a better offensive line, but built upon defense. They have a better defense, I think. But there's a lot of similarities.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you go through, I don't know if you want to, but position by position, really, I only give us the advantage. I think running back you could say is a push. I only really give us the advantage at offensive and defensive line at the positional groups. I would say Case Keenum slightly over Foles. Yeah. I think that their receivers are better. Yeah. I think the DBs are better. I think their linebackers are better, obviously, because we've had so many damn injuries. If we had Jordan Hicks, it would be a little bit different. Yeah. But our defensive line is better, I think, significantly better than theirs because of our depth.
Yes.
The Vikings D-line, they don't have much depth up front. It's pretty much those guys that they roll with, whereas us, we have 7-8 guys coming in. I think, like Reese said today, that 7 or 8 D-linemen on our team had 400 snaps. That's incredible, man. And I remember talking before the season, that's what I said had to happen for us to be good. And I think our offensive line is just straight up head and shoulders better than theirs.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. I mean, Everson Griffin, you got Danielle Hunter. Brian Robinson is not the player he used to be, and besides those three, not really much there. So, I think Linval Joseph is an extremely underrated defensive tackle. I was going to say mammoth freaking run stuffer. So I think he's really good. But the depth is.
Which side does he play on? Which side does he play on? Does he play on Wiz's side or Brooks' side?
I'm trying. I'll have to watch because I don't know off the top of my head. But if it's, dude, that would make me even want to run off the right side even more, because if it's Tom Johnson and Danielle Hunter on that side, you can run off the right side.
Yeah. And honestly, just to add this here, did you see Wisniewski take out 2 guys on the outside, man? Just freaking tossing DBs. That was the greatest thing I've seen in a while, dude. Wisniewski, how the hell did they try and start freaking Sayamalu and Warmack over this guy? Wisniewski, so good.
He is. I guess they just thought he was a center. He couldn't play guard. I don't know. Stupidity.
I'm really glad we figured that out, man. And they're clicking, man. They're I even saw Big V getting some pancakes.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's lost in everything because Kelsey's had such a good year and the expectations weren't high. Wiz came out of nowhere. Big V, and obviously Lane's the best tackle in the league. Brandon Brooks has had a phenomenal year. And it's people expected it, but people also forget they wanted to kill the guy last year because he had anxiety issues and he sat out a game. It's he suited up every game this year for us, and look what he's done. He's been mauling guys. I keep using that word because it's freaking true, and it's great.
there's no weakness on the line besides Big V.
Yeah, and even him, like when he's going good, he's usually pretty good. I mean, he every once in a while he oversets and his feet get a little slow, but if he stays technically sound, he's fine. It's just his technique breaks down sometimes.
Yeah, it just sucks he's going to be playing Emerson Griffin this week. Like,
oh, I know, that sucks.
Big V, he's allowed 9 sacks, so
yeah. No, I know it's because of the slow feet, man. It really is. Like he just needs to. If his technique stays fine, he's fine. Every one of those sacks, maybe not everyone, but I would be confident saying like 80-90% of the sacks he gave up is because you can point to bad technique.
Yeah, and I don't remember what Doug said, but during the press conference, I believe it was yesterday, someone asked him about the pressure, and he's like, "Well, we have passing concepts where the pressure doesn't even matter."
What? Wait.
Like he can get the ball out so fast it doesn't even matter.
All right. Well, okay, because that I can understand. I didn't. I was
but then that means like you're being ultra conservative.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, yeah, I don't like the way that sounds. Just protect the quarterback. I don't care if you're taking 3 steps out. Like maybe on a 3rd and short, like do that. That's great. But like you can't do that all game. And if Everson Griffin is just dominating Big V, then we're gonna have issues, man.
Threw up in your mouth a little bit thinking of that matchup.
Nah, well, yeah, I had a burp, so yeah. No, I mean it is tough. I really wish he was on lane. I would be a lot more confident. But yeah, I mean, I really hope Big V goes out there and holds his own. He's done it before. He's done it before against guys where we were afraid of the matchup. So he's a little streaky himself as an offensive lineman. So,
but this is by far his toughest matchup of the season.
So. Oh yeah, I mean Everson Griffin. What did he have? Like 14, 13 sacks this year.
Yeah.
So
Everson Griffin or Brandon Graham? Who's better?
Brandon Graham, but I'm biased.
No, it's not biased because he is better.
Brandon Graham is just a monster. Like, I don't care about the numbers. Just watch the film. There's a reason I don't really like Pro Football Focus that much, but they love him because he's just in the backfield every play. Like, every single play. I was talking to my dad, and he was like, dude, he's like 55, man. Graham is just a monster. And my dad, he knows football pretty well, and he used to play himself way back in the day when football was football. Yeah, and right. He was like, he says Brandon Graham is just like he would fit in an old school type of play because he's just so physical, so strong, so low to the ground. Like, it's great, man. He's one of my favorite players on the team, and I'm really glad that he came into his own because he did look like a bust there. And I was one to say it. I was like, oh, he's a bust. Should have taken Earl Thomas. Blah blah blah.
Well, I'd still rather have Earl Thomas, but that's
well,
okay.
I mean,
that conversation now has subsided.
Yeah, I mean, Earl Thomas is a potential Hall of Famer, but, I mean, he's been hurt. He's been hurt, and Graham's been on the field, so we'll see what keeps going. But, yeah, BG's a freak. I mean, God, if you can imagine in a couple of years we keep him signed, him and Barnett on the opposite end, it's like clones of each other.
Yeah. He's a much better run stuffer than – well, Griffin can set the edge, and he's pretty good too, but Brandon Graham's the best run-stuffing DN in the league.
Yeah,
I agree. So
I definitely agree.
Yeah, definitely the most versatile defensive end in football.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just – I can't say enough good things about him, man. And I think he's finally getting some recognition because of the success of this team. But it's still like – how does he not get voted in the Pro Bowl? Like, come on. He's a captain on this defense. And the guys that made it ahead of him, like, they have the sack numbers, so you can point to that. But
yeah,
sack numbers. Hopefully it doesn't even matter because, you know, if one more win and – none of these guys.
We don't even have to worry about the Pro Bowl. We're going to be in the Super Bowl. Who cares?
Exactly. I think did you see? I don't know if they released their first team, but the Pro Football Writers Association first team all rookie Barnett was on there.
Saw that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, because he actually didn't play that well the last month or so, but I'm glad he got recognized.
And he had 5 sacks, and he didn't play that much either. Like,
yeah,
he played a decent amount, but he'd not like other guys snaps. So, and yeah, you know, him, you know, kind of having a decline in play at the end of the season, you could attribute to just the length of the season, maybe.
That's true. No, that's a good one. Yeah, because rookies tend to slow down a little bit near the end of the season. So speaking of Brandon Graham, the other matchup you can exploit is their left guard is Mike Remmers right now because their left guard earlier in the season, Nick Easton, fractured his ankle, I believe. So he's out. So third down situations, you put Brandon Graham at D tackle. You got the mismatch there. Then you got Chris Long going against the other guy, Hill. There's mismatches there.
And Chris Long, man, I expect him to make a play or two. He's a veteran. He's won a Super Bowl, and he's made timely plays this year, so I definitely expect to see him make one or two big plays. And yeah, man, I mean that NASCAR package is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
That's lethal, man. I love it. The one thing I do want to say, because I don't know if we've really talked about this, what the hell has happened to Timmy Jernigan, man? Like, he's not playing horrible, but he's not dominating like he was.
Yeah, he's been quiet a little bit.
We saw a lot of Bo Allen last week. Bo Allen held his own. He played good, but Timmy Jernigan, dude, if we get first month of the season Timmy Jernigan to play like that this game, like, it'd be huge.
Yeah, he got his money, and now it's like
he got his money. Now he doesn't need to have that deep penetration anymore.
Yeah, man. Freaking 40 minutes in this show, and I haven't had a deep penetration.
Hey, dude, we need a lot of that. Another thing that I kind of thought taking away from the Vikings game and our game, we came out very healthy. Like, I don't even remember seeing a guy being slow to get up. The Vikings, man, they got beat up. Like, they had guys. Xavier Rhodes got hurt, even though he's going to play. I mean, Terrence Newman, if he plays, is banged up. Case Keenum took some big shots. Thielen's got a back. I think that our health is huge right now, too. Because if we get, like, you could see some Vikings, like Xavier Rhodes, if he takes a hit, who knows? He could aggravate something. He could be out. And that, you can't underestimate that, man. I mean, just the health of this team is huge right now.
Yeah, they that injury to Andrew Sendejo.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was huge. Obviously, he's going to play because the concussion protocol, or it's bullshit. They'll get him back on the field. Xavier Rhodes' concussion protocol is about 15 seconds. So,
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Sendejo, if he's playing with a concussion, I don't wish it upon anybody, but it's very likely he gets another one in the game and leaves, and that's dangerous too. But I mean, they say that, you know, they won't clear it if they're not healthy or whatever. I'm not convinced, man. I mean, I think that when it's the NFL, all this money's involved. These teams have a shot to go to the Super Bowl. It's like with fucking Tom Brady. He's never on the injury report except this week with the thumb. You know how many concussions he's had? Guaranteed he's had a lot, man. I mean,
they're trying to push this as if Tom Brady's not going to play Sunday.
Oh, dude. Well, did you see the line? Like, the line's moving big.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's at 7 now, man. They took it off the books for a while last night. So, and the Eagles line's moving towards us, and this guy who picked us, I think I talked about him last week, picked us to go to the Super Bowl in Vegas, said all the smart money, all the the gamblers' money is on the Eagles, but all the public money is on the Vikings.
Do you know why? Because the public sees Nick Foles.
Yes.
And the public doesn't understand that this is a complete team.
Yes.
That has a top 5 rushing attack. It's got the best offensive line in the league. It's got a top 5 defense. There's a lot more to this team than just Carson Wentz, and people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, because the NFL is so quarterback driven, and honestly, I think it's really rare you see a roster this complete, top to bottom. We said it before the season that like this roster on paper was really good besides the corners, and then a month into the season, we're like, well, what we thought was a weakness is now a strength. It's crazy, man. And yeah, having Carson was great. It made us an elite football team. But now what we are is a very good, very, very physical and very smart football team. And another thing that I heard, which I loved, the Vikings play-by-play guy who also has a radio show out there came on the afternoon show on WIP. And he knows football, like the way he was talking about it. He watches a lot of film.
Yeah, Paul Allen.
Paul Allen, yeah. He said that the Eagles are by far the most technically sound football team he's watched on film this season.
Good.
And then that is huge because that speaks not only to the players' discipline but to the coaching. Yeah. And I completely agree with it. It's why they've been so successful. They've had I think they had one game where I was like, they need to clean some shit up.
Yeah. All right. So my bold prediction for this game, we'll go into predictions now, I guess. So my bold prediction is that the defense is going to score more than the offense. So I've got a 10-9 scoreline. That's my score. I think Case Keenum's going to get pressured, and I think he's going to throw a pick six. That's my pick. That's my prediction. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I do think it is important that they force some turnovers to give the offense some short field. So that's going to be the key to victory in this one.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. Forcing turnovers, whichever team wins a turnover battle is most likely going to win.
Yeah, it's like so easy to say for a playoff game. Like it's like the first thing everyone says.
Yeah. But like it's neither team has a quarterback that's I think capable of throwing their team out of a hole.
Yeah, no
defenses, which is why it's really important to get the turnovers and win the field position battle. Honestly, Donnie Jones could be a major factor in this game completely, even though he's a punter. Like seriously, Jake Elliott, please hit those extra points. Please hit the extra points. I don't really have a bold prediction, but I guess if I'm going to throw one out there, it's that Aguilar has a huge play. I don't know if it's going to go for a touchdown. I think there'll be one. I'll say that there'll be one big play through the air to Nelson Aguilar, whether it's a deep pass or whether it's just the run after the catch. I think that's going to happen. My prediction for the game is very close to yours. I have us winning 13-9. Originally, when I thought, because I remember last week I said, I kind of just throw a score out there that I was feeling 17-15, but I talked to you and we went back and forth, and I was like, but I just can't see the Vikings moving the ball that much. And if we win the turnover battle and win the game, like the way we're going to win is winning the turnover battle and stopping them. So that's why I was like 13-9. So that's what I'm going with. And if it's 13-9 in our favor, man, God, I don't know what's going to happen in Philadelphia Sunday night. It's going to be crazy. I hope I can get home because I have work the next day.
You should just call out.
Yeah, I would, but I have off for Friday for Wing Bowl. I already put off for the day after the Super Bowl. And if we win this weekend, I'm putting in off for the parade. But I didn't want to jinx that.
You don't want to jinx it.
I don't believe in jinx, but I just don't even want to open the door, dude.
Did I tell you about my little EDP story when so we watched the Vikings Saints game, and I was like pissed off because I was like, fuck, we got to play the Saints. We're going to lose. We're not going to be able to stop Kamara. We're not going to stop the quick passing game. Then the Hail Mary happened.
Oh, my God.
And I jumped up and down like a fucking girl. And I was saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I was literally shouting this. And EDP told me to shut the fuck up. He's like, can't say that. You're going to jinx it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't believe in like jinx, but I do believe in like if the city has an attitude that can be felt, and I think that like Grant, for example, 2002, everybody thought we were going to roll over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Ike Reese said it because they had some players come back from the 2004 team. They kind of had like a panel discussion. It was really, really good to hear, and they all said it. They're like, we thought we were going to the Super Bowl. We thought it was a done deal. And that's dangerous, man. This team knows that it's going to be a battle because if we had Carson Wentz, I would be a lot more confident. Everybody would be more confident. This team knows it's going to be a battle. If they don't play the best football they can play, they're not going to win. And that's why I think most people in the city are thinking we're going to win, but it's going to be close. And it's not because we're head and shoulders better. It's because they know how focused we are. And we have the home field advantage. And I can't say it enough. And I just want to say, if anybody watching was at that game last week, that was an amazing effort by the crowd. We got to do it again this week, man. And it feels good because honestly, I do think that like we had a hand in that win.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, you did.
It was awesome, dude. And people cheering from home too, dude. Like the more the merrier. Positivity in the universe, man.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it. You got anything else?
Not really. Did anybody, any Vikings trolls on the comments?
I'm sure there is. Do you want me to check?
Check them out, dude.
All right, I'll check.
I'm just so amped. I got out of work today. I was just like, I am ready, man. Like it feels so real. Like I thought this week was so long, man. Going into work Monday, I was just like, oh, how am I gonna get through it? But here we are.
Some of the Vikings fans think Adam Thielen's going to go off.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great receiver. Adam Thielen's really underrated. And Diggs is dangerous down the field, too. I think you're going to see, I guess, Mills on Thielen and Darby on Diggs because of the speed with Diggs. And honestly, I would kind of hope that they shadow each. Like, I think that's the best matchup. So
I don't think they shadow, though.
They don't. But, like, honestly, in this game, just me, I'm obviously not an NFL coach, but I would I would just straight up say, Mills, you got Thielen, Darby, you got Diggs, and that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I do think they're the best wide receiver duo in the NFL.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen's probably the most underrated receiver in the league, to be honest. Great route runner. But, the Vikings fans, it seems like, your Eagles cornerbacks suck. We're going to throw the ball all over you guys. What they don't seem to understand, again, is the pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure Case Keenum. How are you going to get the ball out to these guys? So that's going to be the key to a game. Again, pressure. So they like to run a lot of the crossing routes. Case Keenum's best throw is the post corner route. He throws a pretty good ball actually on a good touch on it. So, but that's going to be, again, if you pressure the quarterback, you're not going to be able to complete those post corner routes.
No, not at all. And the only way I see them really racking up the yards is if they come out and do what the Giants did to us this year. And like we said, they like to run the football. And even if we smack them in the mouth, I think that they're going to stay committed to running the football, because I don't know if they believe Case Keenum can throw the ball 35, 40 times and win the game. I mean, Matt Ryan threw the ball 40 times against us. He had like 200 yards passing, dude. Like, I don't care. Julio Jones got his, yeah, but they weren't like significant. We talked about that, it having to be between the 20s, and it was. And thank God that Jalen Mills had a little bit of a PI there at the end and got away with it. But we'll see. I mean, what do you think actually about Hockley being the ref? Do you have any opinion on that?
Well, sun's out, guns out. He's going to want to call some penalties.
Yeah, the game might take like 6 hours because he really – I actually read Elliott Short Parks had an article up about like the stats against him and everything, and we actually have a winning record against him. We're with Hockley as our ref. And like, I think the team that I saw, like usually the opposing team has more penalty yards or something. So I'll take it. I saw it pretty much as neutral. Like, we're like 10-7 with them, so it's not like a crazy advantage. But thank God it's no what the hell is that guy's name for the Panthers?
Pete Morelli.
Pete Morelli, yeah. Thank God it's not him.
Yeah, dingbat, that guy.
If Pete Morelli was the referee for this game, I would be scared for his health entering the stadium. I'm not even kidding.
All the dog masks, man.
Literally, someone in a dog mask would like come out of a dark alley, and it would. Philly cops would just be like, "Ah, man, we really got to investigate this one." Like, chalk it up to natural causes. Terrible to say.
The other thing. The other thing I'm noticing is this: Eagles fans seem to think that this game's going to be close. Vikings fans think that they're going to blow us out.
I know. Which is just terrible. It's so wrong, man. It's this team. We will not get blown out on our home field. We might lose the game. Like, I don't think by any means this is going to be like, I'm not like 70-80% confident. I'm like 50. I would say like in 1,000 games, like we'd win like 55-60%. These teams are that evenly matched.
Yeah,
just the home crowd is the advantage. If we were playing in Minnesota, I'd probably pick the Vikings, honestly.
Great.
Unfortunately, because I love this team. I love watching them, and bias me thinks we can win any game. But it's seriously, like, it's just there's something different about this team this year in this stadium with this defense. It's just I haven't seen or witnessed like a defense this dominant since 2004 at home. Really, like so, and to be a part of it, like to be there, I mean, I'm getting chills, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody's asking my man Kirk how we feel about our channel and how it's done this football season. We've made a lot of strides, got a lot of subs.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say you can speak more of that than me, but I mean, I can just say, like, I know you were telling me the amount of views we were getting and everything, and that's awesome. Like, I think it's great, and I know that you and Bert definitely get a lot of views on the videos.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a really good job, man. You don't just come on here and talk football. Like, you actually analyze it and take the time to learn it, and you're very good at being unbiased, in my opinion. Me, I work another job, so I kind of see what I see on TV, and like I can kind of, I know football, but I don't get to research it like you do. I wish I did, because I love it. Like, I'm a nerd for it. But I mean, I enjoy.
And then there's your research.
Yeah, I would love it, man. I mean, hell. But I mean, I love coming on here and chatting, dude. It's great. I mean, obviously, I'm a little more of the unbiased guy sometimes. I come on here and I'm just screaming, go Birds, but, I try to give unbiased predictions, Uh-oh. You're frozen.